here's something that's working. How do I make it way better? And if you can't, then don't do that. Go do something that you can make better.
It's just building on little transformations. And that's all you're trying to do with products. Can you create a product that gets somebody from point A to point B? If you can do that and you can convince people that you can be their guide and bring about that transformation, you'll make money.
Hey guys, it's Mike from Make Time Online, and today I'm just summarizing the whole starter blog series that we've had during October. So I've obviously had the pleasure of speaking to Alex Nerney and Paul Scrivens over the last few weeks, and I just want to take this opportunity just to kind of sum up the key findings from what I've learned from speaking to those two and just put them together, because if you listen to all of those episodes, you'll actually see that a lot of what they say just kind of overlaps. So it makes sense that they're not just saying random things. There is a clear thought process on what goes on with successful bloggers and people that learn how to start a blog to actually start making money. So I'm just going to sum it up in 5 key takeaways. These are some of the key takeaways that have been taken at the end of each episode, but I've found the common themes that both Paul and Alex have actually said and kind of put them together to hopefully make it a little bit easier for someone that is just starting out. So number 1 is find what people are already interested in. If you're interested in making money from a blog, there's no point in trying to create this brand new thing. You don't need to come up with some crazy thing, which is actually a really good positive, because it just kind of means that it's already been done. It's already out there. There's proven things that already work, which actually saves you the time and hassle of having to come up with a brand new, crazy, innovative new thing that you need to do. You can just use what people are already finding works for them. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that you just go and copy another blog word for word, because that just doesn't work. For a start, Google will realize it's copied content and just will never rank your website. But what it does mean is that you can see what has worked for other people and use those ideas, maybe the kind of titles. Obviously, again, you don't want to copy it word for word, but you can get ideas of what has worked well for them with their blog titles and use a similar sort of theme throughout your blog. Now, if you're really struggling for ideas and you don't have a clue what does and doesn't work as a blogger, what I would recommend is that you go to maketimeonline.com/study, and there I've put a whole blog study using blog income reports. So certain bloggers, basically, you write blog income reports just to kind of prove what they have done that has worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and it just shows exactly step by step what is actually working for them. So if you're struggling to come up with an idea, there's actually 7 niches in there with a whole range of different blog income reports. So you can actually find blog income reports of people that have already started to make money online through blogging, and you've just got a whole list of resources right there, so you can start getting some ideas straight away. Just kind of linking off that as well, Paul Scrivens actually mentioned this at some point, is that there are certain things where people, it's not going to be as effective online. And obviously it's going to be, you might be solving a problem and it could be very helpful for someone. But if you're looking to make a blog to start making money in the near future, it may not be the best way. It could be a great long-term business and one of those 6-7 figure businesses that they've talked about. But just for example, the example he gave is if you're creating some content for someone with anxiety, are people with anxiety and that are depressed going to be looking for help? Are they going to actually be willing to pay money to go and fix their problem online? Maybe they will, but chances are that isn't going to be something that they're necessarily going to be wanting to do. However, if it's someone that is, a business executive and they want to lose a few pounds, is that something that they're going to be willing to go on to online, pay a few dollars and try and solve their problem, there's more chance that something like that is going to happen. This kind of links on really nicely to point number 2. And that is, if you are planning on creating a big online business, a 6-7 figure a year income kind of online business, then it's really important that you do this one thing. And both Alex and Paul mentioned this in the podcast. You need to work out what transformation are you going to deliver for your readers, for your subscribers to your to your blog. You really need to hone in and try and solve one problem. Now, funny enough, chatted to both of them before and after the podcast, and Scrivs actually said that's not something that you need to do. If you just want to make $1,000 a month or a couple of $1,000s a month from a blog, you actually don't need to do that. So this is more, thinking bigger, long-term kind of thing. Are you solving one problem? Can you solve one problem? It is possible for bloggers to kind of talk about a bit of this, a bit of that, and a bit of everything, put it on Pinterest, get loads of traffic, and then put ads on there and make $1,000 a month. That is possible to do without necessarily solving one problem. But if you want to create the sort of the 1,000 true fans and creating a product around something, then you really need to work out what is that one thing that one problem you're going to solve. Can you become an expert in one thing? That's something that Alex said at some stage. And really, the whole online blogging world and everything is moving more into that space. People that are an expert in one thing rather than dipping into this and dipping out of that. Number 3 is to not get too overwhelmed. And they both said this in different ways. Really, you want to focus on one thing at a time. Try and avoid all those shiny objects. There's so many different things, so many different paths that you could go down that it just can often lead to overwhelm. It's something that I've experienced myself, just being doing this for a couple of years, and there's so many different people that pull you in different directions and say, oh, you should do this and you should do that. Choose one thing, learn one thing at a time. Yes, there may be different balls in the air and different things that you do need to learn eventually, but you don't need to learn it all in one go. Just concentrate on one thing at a time. So particularly if you are brand new to this, that one thing is probably going to be learning how to find content that people actually want, and then how to write that content in a way that people like to read online. Once you've done that, and then you can focus on number 4, which is focus on getting traffic. They both kind of spoke about this in different ways, but it is so important that your blog actually manages to get traffic, and that means getting people to actually look at it in a certain way. It is probably the most common thing that I hear from new bloggers and people that are starting out online, is that they are putting all this effort in, all this time in, and they're just not getting people to actually look at what they are producing. What that signals to me anyway, and from having a chat with these two, it makes it clear as well, is that people are probably producing content that is in their own head. They're creating their own ideas and they're putting it out there into the world. They're not finding what people are already interested in. They're not writing content in a way that people are already looking for. And that is a really, really important thing. Both Paul Scrivens and Alex Nerney and Create and Go, they have both used Pinterest really successfully. And particularly in the last few years, Pinterest has without a doubt been the best way to drive traffic to a new blog, because you don't need to wait for Google to recognize your website and get indexed and all these other things. And Google just takes a bit longer to actually recognize your website. Pinterest, it doesn't matter how old your blog is if you do things in a certain way. And particularly on the lines of Pinterest, in December, that is the month where I've got a few guests already that have come on the show and are going to particularly really talk about the nitty gritty Pinterest things, if that is something that you're interested in learning a bit more about. However, as Alex said, it doesn't have to be Pinterest. There will always be this other tool to help you get traffic to your blog. It could be YouTube, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, It could be some other form of social media that doesn't even exist yet. It could be, Google. The thing is, again, I'm listing these things. It just kind of causes overwhelm. Again, that's why it's so important to go back to point number 3 and really focus. Do one thing at a time. Don't try and be everywhere at once, because it's just not going to end well. And then finally, point number 5 is to track key data. So once you have got traffic to your website, there's no point in doing this when you're getting 2 people looking at your website a day. There's just not going to be the data to track. But once you have got the traffic to your website, we're talking 5,000 visitors a month plus, really, and particularly for some of the best ad networks, they're looking at 25,000 visitors a month, sessions per month to your website. So once you are getting good traffic to your website, it's so important to track key data. Again, both touched on this in different areas. Alex went into a bit more detail and said about how he particularly finds the most viewed posts. So if you already have a website, just go to Google Analytics right now and just go into your section where it shows you which post has received the most traffic. So it shows each post, how many people have viewed it. Just go all time, the whole time your blog has existed, and find what articles get the most traffic. Where are people looking at regularly? Once you get those articles, then the key thing is to make sure they're optimized in the best way. So have they got an opt-in form for your email address? Is there a way that you're collecting emails and things from there? But then you don't just stop there. You can track what are your best opt-in forms. So Alex spoke about using Thrive leads. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do that. There's so many different tools and things that I wouldn't say one's the best or anything like that. I know people use ClickFunnels and all these kind of other things. But work out what are your most successful opt-in forms. Then once you've done that, put your most successful opt-in forms in the right places. And then once you've collected these email addresses, you don't just stop there with the tracking the data. You can also see what are your most successful emails that you've sent to people. So what emails are they opening and what emails are they clicking on? And rather than just being like, oh, right, that's the best email that they really seem to like, move those the best emails to the start of the email sequence, because that's obviously what people are most interested in. It gets people opening it, it gets people reading things, and it gets people building trust. And that's really the whole point. As Scriv said at one point, it only takes one blog post to make a connection with someone. It only takes one good opt-in form to make people sign up to your email list. And it only takes one short email sequence to then build trust with someone. And once you have trust, you're much more likely to have people that buy something from you. Please don't take all of this kind of talk as thinking, oh my God, there's so much that I need to do and I need to do blah, 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 blah. As I've kind of already said, and as you can find out if you went to maketimeonline.com/study from the blog income report study, is that you don't even need an email autoresponder or anything to actually start making money from a blog. All you really need is that traffic, which you can get from Pinterest for free. And it's just by using articles that people are already searching for. Pinterest will show you what people are already searching for. You just go to the Pinterest tab at the top and you type in a word and it will give you hints. It will auto fill what people have already typed in. That's not just made up. Pinterest doesn't just give you that out of randomness. That is things that people have already typed in. So you can actually get free traffic to your website relatively quickly just by being consistent on Pinterest, and using ads and things like that. You can actually start to monetize it. And then if you're looking to make money, like make more serious money, that whole 6-7 figure blogger thing, that's when you can then use the whole emails things and adding that in, and affiliate links and all of the other things. So you may be wondering, why am I even doing this podcast? It's kind of just repeating things that have already been said over the past few episodes. Well, this is another thing that I've learned recently. I mean, probably the last sort of 4 or 5 years, it's just been a case of me learning as much as possible, reading brand new books all the time, taking in new courses and things like that. And what I have realized, particularly over the last year or so, and in fact, even just speaking to Alex, this is something that he said, is repetition is key. It's so important if you are going to actually learn something thoroughly. And again, Alex said this, is choosing one person or one path to follow and following that completely. That's where you're going to get the depth of knowledge. So just reading a book once, you might take in a few things and think, oh yeah, that was a good book. But reading it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times is when you're really going to get the depth and knowledge that you can from a book. It's so easy just to think, oh yeah, I've sort of done that. I've been there, done that. By actually going back and listening to all of those episodes again, I guarantee you will get things from there that you didn't get the first time round. And I did it every time. So when I've recorded an episode, obviously I had the chat first of all. Then when I actually come to recording the podcast and editing it and everything, I listen to the chat again. And I'm always like, I don't even remember talking about that at that point. And I get new things from it all the time. And so repeating what you are learning is so important to actually being successful and getting the depth of knowledge and really understanding it, which is the whole point of this podcast now. Another of the best tips that I've learned as well is that momentum is so important in anything that you want to achieve. If you can put in, let's say you can put in 10 hours a week, it's so much better to put in about an hour and a half a day than putting in 10 hours on a Sunday and doing nothing for the rest of the week. It is so much better because every time you come to something, it's fresh in your mind. You've done a bit yesterday, so you remember what you did yesterday, and then you're building on it. If you do something once a week, when you come to do it at the start of the next week, it will take you an hour or so just to remember what you were even doing, get back in the right mindset and everything. You'll be unproductive because 10 hours in one go, no one can be productive for 10 hours one go, no matter what anyone says. About 25 minutes is pretty much the most that anyone can do being actually productive. So doing small things every day, keep learning small things every day. And if you do that for a year, just think how much you can actually learn within 1 year. It's crazy how much it compounds and builds on top of itself. So I do hope you enjoyed this How to Start a Blog to Make Money series, which has gone on through October. Definitely do go to maketimeonline.com/study because that has a whole big blog income report study which will show you exactly how 7 different blogging niches have started to make money, and this is proven result. If you'd rather hear it from a podcast, you can go back to the end of September, and there's 3 income report studies which kind of break down exactly what you'd like to know. And if you go all the way to the bottom of that post, there's a chance for you to join the email list to learn a little bit more about exactly what I am doing as like a side hustle. And I spoke about this in the last few podcasts. So Sarah and I are kind of just using our free time. So rather than watching 2 hours of TV every evening, are instead using that time to create a new website. And it is completely as a side hustle sort of thing. So just to give you a bit of an overview, I'm not going to share exactly like what the niche is and what the website is because, I don't want thousands of people to start running over to the website and, manipulate the traffic. I want it to be a whole separate thing where it is actually organically grown and I can just share with you the exact results, how much time, how much effort, what was actually gone on. So just as a little overview, within this last month, we've actually now released it, only within this last week, so the end of October. Basically, there's been 10 posts that we've written so far, so we released it with 10 posts. I will let you know if you go to maketimeonline.com/study, and that's where you can join the email list to find out all the nitty gritty if you're interested in learning exactly what the website is about, how many blog posts we've put out, how many pins we've actually put out, and you can actually get the stats and data and things like that, and what we're actually going to track, and it will show you exactly how long it takes to go from 0 to starting to get traffic to start monetizing it. I don't really know, it might fall on its head, but that's something that you can find out along with us and see whether it actually works. I'm not just going to be like preaching all this stuff and not actually doing it. I want to show you that it is possible to do with a few hours a week as a side hustle, and you don't need to be a genius, because I know for a fact I am not a genius. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it, guys. Thanks for listening in to this episode of Make Time Online. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes, and please take a moment to write a review for our podcast in the App Store. Keep changing for the better, guys. Take care.